We designed ours with an actual air gap. We are fully anechoic because we're actually on a raised floor as well. If we wanted to have a Harley Davidson in here and we wanted to test that baby, let's do it.
I just wanted to stay in that lab forever. I searched a little deeper in the course catalog and started to see these physics classes labeled acoustics. I went and had what I thought was going to be a quick chat with a professor in the physics department. And 3 hours later, I came out of Dr. Tim Leishman's office with a grad school application in my hands and knowing exactly what I wanted to do next. Pro X2 wireless gaming headset and the A50 X wireless gaming headset. The graphene diaphragm is just like a piston. It moves just like it should. And so distortion is low, accuracy is up, detail is there.
You have to fail to grow. And it's like extremely humbling, but it's necessary because if you don't fail, then you don't know what you're made of.
Welcome to STL Podcast, filmed in the MD Acoustics Anechoic Chamber in beautiful Gilbert, Arizona. Today, we invited Matt Green, the lead acoustical engineer for Logitech, who's spearheading some of the most celebrated audio peripherals for enthusiasts and pros alike. Each episode, we bring you compelling conversations, practical advice, and illuminating stories from the minds of industry leaders, educators, innovators, and visionaries who are shaping the world one idea at a time.
Hello, I'm Mike Dickerson, one of your hosts of Sound Cave Labs, and here with me
it's Robert Pearson. How's it going?
And we're here today broadcasting from our Anechoic Chamber, and we have an exciting guest on our show, Matt Green from Logitech, and he is broadcasting remote from his Anechoic Chamber. Matt, how are you doing? Glad to have you on our show.
Doing great, Mike. Good to see you.
It's great to see you. We were just talking about this. It's been almost 20 years since we've seen each other, right? We were in school together. So, I mean, there's like so many questions we have for you, or at least I do. And I'm just super excited to have you here and be part of part of this experience. So first off, since you're in your Anechoic chamber, how big is your chamber that you're in?
So it's about 8 meters the long way. We have 4-foot wedges, so we're fully anechoic down to about 75 hertz.
Awesome.
And it's fully anechoic, so we have the suspended wire mesh floor and everything inside.
That is awesome. We have 2.5 foot, we have 3-foot wedges, and we designed ours with an actual air gap that's suspended in between. Okay. And then we are fully anechoic because we're actually on a raised floor as well, but it's not wire suspended. It's actually got structural component to keep it. So we could basically, when we designed it, I said to our team, if we wanted to have a Harley Davidson in here and we wanted to test that baby, let's do it. And we did.
All right. Awesome.
So let's talk about really quickly. So your college career, walk us through that real quick, in a 1 or 2 minute synopsis there.
Okay. I started college without a lot of a clue as to what I wanted to do. But it didn't take long for me to realize that I'd always been somewhat engineering minded and would probably do best studying sciences and engineering. I got into electrical engineering because it was the most interesting to me. And I realized that basically everything about it that I was interested in was audio related. My first EE lab, we built our own power amplifier, and I just wanted to stay in that lab forever and not go on to the other stuff. And so as I was going along, I had my senior year, I needed to take a couple of electives, and I wasn't terribly interested in a lot of what was offered that I hadn't taken yet. So I searched a little deeper in the course catalog and started to see these physics classes labeled acoustics and that they would count. And I went and had what I thought was going to be a quick chat with a professor in the physics department. And 3 hours later, I came out of Dr. Tim Leishman's office with a grad school application in my hands and knowing exactly what I wanted to do next.
That is awesome.
So just real quick, let me ask a question. So you said you went looking for some electives and you got into acoustics. Did you even have any idea that it existed before that? Like a degree in acoustics?
No, I don't think I did. I was kind of shocked to see classes, and then to know that you could actually get a degree was news to me.
And now on top of that, I don't want to give the plug to, I know there's a lot of great universities out there, right? So, but we're going to hit our alma mater real quick, just because. But you
Yeah.
have Tim Leishman, who's, you know, in his own right, he's got obviously tremendous experience. You got Scott Sommerfeld, who I'm going to give him kudos, both of them, but really, you know, Scott and everybody there kind of taking this program and lifting it up to where it's at. And yeah, I mean, so you're there at the, like, kind of at the beginning of when this thing was, you know, just a few other students before you, right? I mean, but basically you're there. So, okay. So you get through college there, you went and got your MS, right? Physics.
Yes.
You go off for 6 years, you work in Minnesota. Where you work in Minnesota?
Well, in Minnesota, I was at Starkey Labs, which is a hearing aid company. And I actually got there through a connection from BYU as well. I worked for one of Tim Leishman's college roommates at Penn State, and he recruited me out there. He had a really fun little team that he called his Skunk Works team. And, you know, we were a multidisciplinary team that would try and put together new technologies for hearing aids.
So how did you get to Logitech?
It was an interesting path. Similar to not knowing much about acoustics before I got involved, I never really considered Logitech initially. I did not know they did much in the audio space, but I was looking for somebody in the consumer electronics world. I wanted to work on products that people wanted. As nice as hearing aids are, nobody wanted them. And I was ready for something different that way. I wanted to do more with audio, and I interviewed at several different places. I had several different offers. And as I was looking through, I saw this position at Logitech, and just the way the position was written, I thought this is perfect for me, but I was still kind of scratching my head. What does Logitech do audio wise? And then I looked a little more and found that there were actually some amazing products out there. At the time, the big thing was iPod docks. And they had some iPod docks that made incredible sound in ways that I couldn't imagine. And so I interviewed, and when I came out on site for further interviews, I saw this Anechoic Chamber here and met the people who were so passionate about audio, and really recognized that this was the place for me. It was going to be everything I wanted in a job that way. And then it didn't hurt that the Pacific Northwest is absolutely gorgeous, and I've loved living here too.
Really quickly, who is Logitech?
Sure. Logitech started over 45 years ago as a peripheral company for computers. We kind of have become famous for the mouse and keyboard, and we've expanded from that. I mean, over the decades, we've built just about everything that you could use as an accessory for a computing device, which now would include handheld computers and everything around us. We, greater than just what we make, we really like to be a company who enables people in their lives. And that's kind of a generic saying, but when I look at what drives each business group within Logitech, it's how do we help people interact with technology in a way that's fulfilling to them, that empowers them, that really makes things fun and efficient for work. And we just want to kind of be the interface between people and the big technology world out there.
At Logitech, you're the head of acoustics, right? So that's your title. How big is your team?
I have 11 engineers. There are 3 located here in Camas, Washington with me. I have 2 in Westlake Village in California. I have 5 in Asia, 4 located in Hsinchu, and 1 in Hong Kong. That's
awesome. So what and by the way, Westlake, shout out to Westlake. We have an office in Simi Valley, so which is just adjacent. Cool. How so in terms of your team, do you guys touch at all on DSP as part of your work, or are you more kind of dealing with just the acoustics and testing of the microphones or the MEMS, right, of your transducers?
We're very closely tied with DSP right now. There's a bit of a history there. When I started and was doing product development, we didn't really have much by way of DSP. We relied a lot on third party, and it was the acoustical engineers doing the tuning. And I was actually one who was pushing very hard for us to specialize on it, and hired one of our first DSP engineers. And now we've grown to where there is a full DSP group in our division, and a head of DSP who manages all of that. But we still work very closely together because, I don't know, it's an interesting synergy that can happen when you have the acoustics and the physics very closely tied in with the algorithms and development on the firmware side.
Let's talk about the gaming side of things real quick with you. And first off, I guess before we go through there, you've got Logitech obviously has multiple, I guess, divisions, subsets. Real quick, can you hit on kind of the big picture, what you touch? I'm guessing it's everything, obviously, but can you talk about which sectors and kind of which product lines?
Sure. Within Logitech, one of our biggest divisions is gaming, as you mentioned. It's really fun and definitely growing out in the world right now. I was not a gamer, so I've learned a lot about it as we come. So my team right now spends a lot of time working on gaming headsets. We need to make sure that what people hear from the speaker path in a headset is accurate and informative to them to help them win, as well as being immersive and enjoyable. We also need to focus on the microphone that they have, which is usually in the form of a boom on the headset. And that microphone is key for communication. And sometimes people will also purchase desktop mics for gaming or for content creation, like this podcast. So we own the brand Blue Microphones, and which is quite famous for the Yeti. So we produce desktop microphones for people to use as content creators. They're also great for Zoom meetings. That's what I use at home. We have a team that focuses on headsets in a very different way, because we have a lot of enterprise customers and we sell equipment for video collaboration. So we make communications headsets and webcams. Those need speaker and microphone work done on them. We sell video collaboration systems for large rooms as well. So the big sound bars and mic arrays and cameras that people have in the boardroom are things that we work on and develop. I mentioned the Ultimate Ears Bluetooth speakers. So we have a portable speakers division, and I believe that covers most of our current offerings for products.
I was going to say, it seems like you pretty much touch everything Logitech does to some extent, right?
Yeah, and even things you might not think of. So we have a keyboard and mouse that are sold as the silent keyboard and the silent mouse. And when you click them, you really don't hear them. And that was qualified in our Anechoic Chamber here. And we consult on the design of the switches and everything to try and bring that silence to the product.
I honestly knew Logitech made a lot of products, and a lot of products that a lot of us probably use. I didn't know you guys did the Blue Yeti. We actually use them here in our studio as well. A lot of times for Zoom meetings, and sometimes we send them out to people to do remote meetings and things like that. I just bought one myself, and they're a really great microphone for what they are.
Awesome.
They sound great.
Glad to hear it.
So you have all these product lines. What would you say is like the hardest part of your job, besides, person-to-person skills, we'll say, like engineering? Is there something that, comes across your desk and you're just like, man, this is, for example, let me just say, I don't know, and I forgive me if I don't know this. I think, right, like active noise control, it's a hot topic. ANC headsets, I got to think you have them. But what's really some of the harder topics that you're like harder things you're working on, or what was the hardest part of your job so far?
Okay. Initially, I love people and projects. So putting together the budget report, that's no fun whatsoever. But I think as far as just the hard challenges that I face, it's really more in making sure that what we're working on for new technologies and new features is exactly what the public is going to receive well and what will serve them in the best way. And so arranging the right levels of communication between consumer insights and product development and engineering so that we're all kind of on the same page and solving the same problem is, I think it's crucial, and it's more difficult to do than just building something as an engineer.
If you don't mind me asking, just real quick, if you could just go a little bit into what DSP is, as opposed to MEMS microphones.
Sure.
And how does that play into Logitech? Like my experience with Logitech actually deals sometimes with like video games and, like you said, iPod docks. I think my first one was an iPod dock. If you could just expound on that a little bit, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Digital signal processing, or DSP, is really just a set of algorithms put together to manipulate signals. And we use that to greatly enhance the capability of hardware in our products. My favorite example of that is in our Bluetooth speakers. So Logitech owns the brand Ultimate Ears, which has a pretty cool backstory if you want to get into. But what we've been doing lately with that brand is selling some of the best Bluetooth speakers you can get. And there's a ton of development that goes into the transducers for those, and a ton of development that goes into the housing and everything that makes them so robust and to sound as good as they do. But one of the key components in that is the DSP. As the music signal comes into the speaker, the DSP has a knowledge of the hardware and what it can do. And the DSP will monitor every sample of that audio as it comes through and reconfigure the tuning for an optimal output. It'll push so that that transducer is going to its limits at all times, but never over those limits. And that allows us to get really big sound out of a very small speaker.
Are your speakers, real quick, are your speakers MEMS? Are you using, let's talk about really quickly, because I know there'll be some audio files. By the way, you probably love this, but you look at all the mixed there's so many magazines and so many people out there that are basically like audiophiles, and they love to like just digest the information you put out there, right?
Yeah.
So quickly hit on, the technology behind, if you're going to talk about Ultimate Ears, that's fine, but maybe some of the other stuff, right? And by the way, what is MEMS? And maybe you can explain some of the other speaker systems that you're using, briefly.
So MEMS is largely a manufacturing process, and it's anytime you can build a whole system on silicon. It's very small, and the most common MEMS device that we use would be a MEMS microphone. Unlike this nice studio microphone that I have in front of me right now, a lot of times we need a very small, very capable, very robust microphone. And so we use microphones that are just made on one piece of silicon and encapsulated in a very small package. And so those are sometimes the main pickup microphone in a headset. Sometimes they are used as a sensor to get environmental information and feed it back to a product so that it knows how to adapt to its environment. And I know that there are people who make speakers using MEMS technology as well. We don't have any products out in the field right now that utilize that, but it is a hot topic of research in audio and acoustics right now.
Have you ever had anything that you built where you thought this was going to be amazing and the public's going to receive this and it's just going to go like hotcakes and it just falls flat? Or have you had the inverse where you thought, it could work, it could not, and it just goes, it's like a rocket ship and takes off?
Yeah, definitely our most disappointing product launch would be when the Amazon Alexa was really picking up and they were selling a lot of speakers. We spent some time making the first portable Alexa speaker that we were aware of anyway. And it was very similar to our UE Boom, but it had all the Alexa smarts in it. And we had to make it battery powered, which was a huge challenge. We put a ton of work into the mic array design so that it would pick your voice up from across the room, even with music playing, a lot of DSP work. It was a huge labor of love. We worked really hard on it and we were so excited for it. But what happened for the most part was third-party speakers didn't do so well because you could get Amazon branded speakers so inexpensively. And we didn't stay in that home smart speaker business for too long. So that was kind of disappointing because it really was a great product. Just not a type of product you could sell above cost, unfortunately.
Oh.
Do you find, so like, I'm guessing you guys have a ton of patents, right? So you're research, you're developing, you're prototyping, you're doing all this stuff, right? And you're at the same time probably concurrently developing patents, hopefully. But then you can't wait forever because you got to go to market because your competitors are going. I mean, talk us through that. Is that a difficult process for?
We have an awesome legal team, to be honest. There's someone that I go to, and I share all the new ideas with this person, and he helps me to determine which ones are going to be the more strategic ones for us from an IP space. And he really makes the whole thing pretty easy. He knows the product development schedules, and sometimes we have to rush on things, so there's some extra work, but it's really not too bad, fortunately. That's been kind of a plus working here.
One of the things I wanted to ask you is you mentioned the one that was the labor of love, right? So what do you have that is that one thing? Because you've talked about hearing aids. You've worked with Logitech for a good while now, so you've probably touched a lot of things. What's that one thing that you just absolutely is like your feather in your cap, the thing you're most proud of, the thing you get really, really, really excited about, if you can talk about it?
Sure. It's really hard to have one. And that's not because I do so many amazing things. It's just, I think anytime.
I'm sure everything was amazing.
Anytime somebody is just really delighted by something because they've had an emotional experience with audio, that's what really triggers that for me. And it happens in a lot of different ways. Definitely the most recent for me would be with our Pro X2 wireless gaming headset and the A50 X wireless gaming headset. So these are both flagship type products. One is a bit more PC gaming focused, one is a bit more console gaming focused, but they were built from the ground up around a new driver. We made a transducer for these that has a diaphragm of basically pure graphene, which makes it the lightest, stiffest diaphragm on earth by a long shot. And it's some great marketing spin, but also headphone drivers are just notoriously poor. Yeah. They're usually made of a thin film of Mylar, and it just crinkles and flaps around. It's not ideal in its motion at all. And the graphene diaphragm is just like a piston. It moves just like it should. And so distortion is low, accuracy's up, detail is there. And we really had to fight, because it's not the cheapest material in the world. So we really had to fight to use it. But every time I see somebody put that headset on and say, wow, I've never heard this before, or, I can hear things in the games I've never heard before, or I just enjoy music like as if it were really nice speakers and not like a headset. And any type of comment like that, I feel really good about because I know we're actually helping somebody have a great experience through our products.
That's actually really awesome because I know you said you weren't a gamer and that you've kind of just learned a lot about gaming. I just saw an article just recently that said the great console wars is over, that no longer can they make a console that's better than the other. They've kind of reached their limit on the console side. And I think that makes a great opportunity for somebody like Logitech to come in. And how do you make the gaming experience even better when the console can't get better? You can make the headphones better, right? You can make the gaming experience way better by being way more enjoyable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you're aware, but 3 out of the 5 top gaming headsets are the Logitech ones that you spoke of. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I believe so.
So why would you say that is?
I think that for those headsets especially, they're the result of a lot of years of development with the customer in mind. There's a lot of science behind them, but also a lot of time of sitting with pro gamers, amateur gamers, and just understanding their needs really well and delivering it in a way that we felt good about. And so we're not surprised. We're delighted. Sales have exceeded expectations on some of those, but at the end of the day, I think we can see that they were built on a foundation that would help them be what people wanted and needed.
So what you're saying is you sat down with the people who actually use this thing and you listened to them. You weren't just a bunch of, I hate to say it, old men sitting in a room going, this is what the kids want. This is what the gamers want. You actually listened to your audience. You sat down with them. They said, we don't like this. We like this. And you said, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and it's not that straightforward. I mean, they say, I don't like this. And it takes some real work to figure out what they even mean initially. What is that actual experience they're having and what would make it better? And then to really turn that into the little research projects that we need to develop the pieces to resolve it. It's very involved and takes some real insight along the way as you learn and discover, but it's a really rewarding process, and I'm glad to work for someone who encourages us to work that way.
So, and on this headset, right, like, I mean, you got to think, like, if you look at the research behind it, basically it's like the top dog, right? I mean, pat yourself on the back. That's awesome. We could say that we have you on the show, but like, really, not only that, like, if you were to look at the market share for gaming, and by the way, we'll pop this up later. I don't know I don't know all the statistics back in there, but there are esports, right? There are livelihoods made obviously on gaming. Forget just as an accessory or whatever. There's just a ton to this. So the fact that you've done such an incredible job, I mean, just that's awesome. And I think the fact that your company's willing to go out there and do the research is just exciting. I hope this inspires kind of the younger generation to be able to like pick this up as we get older and keep pushing innovation, right? Like part of the podcast too, to be frank, is entrepreneurialism, engineering and acoustics, and spark that innovation that needs to be innovated here. Do you ever feel like there's a target on your back because you're so good and like you've raised the bar to the next level and all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, here comes XYZ company trying to come after us, or no?
Yeah, and I think it's healthy. I don't want to get comfortable. And there are areas where, we don't always win at everything. And I used to be quite afraid of failure and losing, and I've grown to love it because of how much it can teach. And so, when we show up a little short, it's great because it bonds us together as a team, and we figure out how we're going to go do better next time.
Yeah, I think to be honest, that hits home for me. Like failure, I think a lot of people don't realize you have to fail to grow, and it's like extremely humbling, but it's necessary. Because if you don't fail, then you don't know what you're made of. You don't know how to you don't know how to stretch yourself even more. That's awesome. Yeah. Those are good words.
Yeah. I think, you talked about some of the stuff you guys are working on, and it's really exciting stuff, right? I mean, especially with video games. Video games are huge. Mike talked about it, that some people's livelihood revolves on video games, whether it's streaming, Twitch, things like that. I have a nephew who just got a scholarship to the University of Utah in esports.
Cool.
Like, what is that about? Like, I can't even imagine getting a scholarship in that. And I know that a lot of kids, they don't know that acoustics would involve so much that you just spoke about. And so it's really, really exciting because some of us fell into acoustics, myself included. Like I didn't go to school planning for acoustics at all. With that being said, where do you think acoustics is going? Where do you think, from your side, not being like a consultant side, but from like a research and development for products that the youth use, where do you think it's going? What's exciting on the horizon?
I think that acoustics grows as other things do as well. I've mentioned how I think a marker of the last decade in acoustics has been transducer development. We make drivers that do things that I couldn't have imagined when I started my career. And a lot of that is fueled by new material discoveries. It's fueled by new things in mechanics. It's fueled by advancements in CAD design. And so as other industries grow, then something that I think acousticians get very good at is seeing opportunities and pulling them in. There's not likely to be huge research done in acoustics with the big dollars like there are in other areas like energy. But good acousticians will always see what's being developed elsewhere and be able to apply it in their field. And so I don't know exactly where that will come from, but I think that we'll continue to see advancements elsewhere in technology find application in sound, and we'll be there to take advantage of that. And I hope that that means more and more people from other fields take interest in acoustics. Similarly to you, about half of my team didn't study acoustics formally. They studied something adjacent to it, but they've fallen in love with it and they've learned as they've gone, and they're very strong in it.
What would you have wished you would have known before you got into the field? Like a mentor, somebody in the field? Maybe that would be the first question. So what would you have known? And then the second question is, what would it take for somebody who's interested to work, let's say at Logitech or in the tech space in acoustics? What do you need to be able to do that?
Okay. Well, if I'm completely honest, if I were to go back and talk to young me, a lot of it would just be personal development things. Like, I mentioned earlier, don't be afraid of failure. Don't feel like you have to have the whole path mapped out. Be ready to be more curious and to try a lot of things and not need them to succeed initially. Let things cook slowly over time in the career, but always be making effort to get better and to learn and grow. I think, if somebody wants to be involved specifically on my team, let's say, go study acoustics in whatever way you can, and also learn other things. Every time we bring a new team member on, we like to bring somebody with knowledge in an industry that we've never worked in before, with products we've never considered before, and bring that in. And so I think the more that someone can be unique in their path, take side roads and try different things, the more unique and valuable that makes you when you go to join a team that's ready to grow and become better because you were added to the team.
One last question for you. So my last question is this: inside your Anechoic chamber, and we could pan back out, but whatever, I would ask you this: gear wise, there's a ton of manufacturers of hardware to evaluate the acoustical products that you make, right? Or the systems you make. Can you name one or two or three products that you use? Like, I guess if it's like a B&K system, like what's your data acquisition? What does that look like?
Okay. I don't even know if I'm supposed to answer this one, but I'm going to put in a plug. I'm going to put a plug for Audio Precision.
Okay.
They're just across the bridge from us in Portland. And they've given us amazing service, and I love what their hardware can do. Otherwise, we do use a lot of things, and we have some of the more expensive things. You've mentioned Brüel & Kjær. They're built into some standards, and we have things from pretty much every major brand. But I look for equipment that works more like I do, that's a little more scrappy. We have found, just by trying different things, we found equipment that is very affordable, that's better performing than some of the more expensive, well-known things. And so it's kind of fun sometimes to just see what you can find. And it gives me a lot of hope. Like when I want to do hobby things in my garage, there's nice equipment I can afford if you know what to look for.
That's awesome. Yeah. Same with we have anything from like a $100,000 acquisition system, even higher, more expensive. We have a mic array above us here that's got a boom arm that rotates 360. You're right. Like all these things. I share this information mostly because to inspire, not that I need to look what's in your chamber, but because really it's like to innovate, you kind of have to have the tools around you to support innovation. And I feel like it gets lost in translation again in this space. Like if you're going to be one of the best at what you do, you have to kind of use tools around you. And Audio Precision's a great company for sure.
We have a couple of tools that we built in house that we're really proud of. That,
I bet.
We don't ever get to show publicly, but it really have to be careful about which ones you decide to make, because it's a lot of work and it can distract you from the work that you're getting paid to do.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But the tools help you be even better. That's how I look at this. Like I tell people all the time, like our system can do 3D plots for us within like a 2-minute time window, right? Like if we want to understand something pretty quickly, we can do it on the fly and it's boom, done. And it's like, I just remember in school, it's a bad example because I've never worked in the loudspeaker industry, plenty of job offers in the past. And I'm like, I just never felt like they had the tools to be able to do what I needed to do. So it's like you said, having the tools and being able to spit out information and data quick is key. Well, Matt, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for coming on our show at Sound Cave Labs. And is there anything else you'd want to say before you take off, like in general, in terms of acoustics and where you see it going?
Well, first of all, you're welcome. This has been a blast talking shop with you. And I guess I would just go out with, encouraging everybody to see the importance of the way humans interact with sound and be willing to learn more about it. And whatever field you go into, stick up for it, because I think there's so many great products out there that kind of miss the experience with sound because it's not always seen as important as it needs to be.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
All right, Matt. Hey, we're done. I'm going to give you a high five through the camera. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Okay, well, take care.
Take care.